Hey, everybody, we are back after a short hiatus to the West Coast Preps podcast. I am Chris Jackson, joined here again by the esteemed, the world-renowned Noah Glosson to talk about more high school football. And I can't believe we're already saying it's December. We're recording this here in the morning of December 1st, a rainy morning in the Bay Area. Northern California championships are about to commence here in about 36 hours across Northern California. Weird to think, but Noah, anything you're kind of looking towards this weekend or anything you want to talk about from last weekend section championships that maybe caught your eye?
I mean, I can't believe, first of all, I can't believe it's already December. It just feels like yesterday we were doing this, talking about previews for the DAL, the BBAL, the WCAL, and the E-ball. So it's crazy that we're already in December, 2 weeks left of the football season. But it's been a crazy ride throughout the NCS championships, CCS championships, and Sac Joaquin section championships. We've seen a lot of shockers. We saw that shocker last week with St. Vincent de Paul falling to Clear Lake in the final, 56-55. That was a wild one. I mean, you see Bellarmine take down SI. You see Menlo roll over Hollister. There were so many great games that, really were phenomenal showings on both ends of the ball. A lot of great offense, a lot of great defense, and terrific performances all around. So this, if that indicates anything, this championship week in NorCal is going to be just as crazy.
Yeah, it should be, especially with these matchups we've got. There's De La Salle Folsom here that we'll get right into right now. Division One AA championship rematch of last year, right? And a rematch, I guess, of an earlier regular season game. Both crazy games. You were at, I know for a fact you're at the NorCal championship last year. Folsom won a thrilling game there, and this year was another close one. 7:30 p.m. kickoff Friday at Folsom High School. What are you looking for in this one?
Can Folsom overcome their injury? Can Folsom overcome its injuries because they're missing Rico Flores Jr.? He broke his foot. Of course, Walker Lyons has been injured all season. He got injured in that first game against Monterey Trail. Recently decommitted from Stanford and is opening up his recruitment options. But I think it's really going to depend on the pass and if De La Salle can wear down Folsom, wear down that defense, because we know De La Salle likes to pound the rock, run the ball with that run-heavy veer offense. So we'll have to see if they can wear down Folsom, but they were close early in the season. I think Austin Mack won that game with like 15 seconds left on that 4th-and-1 quarterback sneak where he jumped over the end zone and into pay dirt so he could score. But it's going to be close. But I think De La Salle gets their revenge in this one and makes a return back to the section championship for the first time in a few years.
Here's the crazy thing. Folsom has the injury bug, but look at who else they've got, right? Austin Mack's still healthy. He's got 40 touchdowns for only 4 interceptions coming to the NorCal championships. That's a hard feat to accomplish. Only 4 picks all season. A lot's got to go right there. He's got 11 offers. I know he's got a Stanford offer. Ontario Smith still has 666 yards. He's got 5 offers. You got Brian Ray III's coming up. But even though Walker Lyons has been hurt, what do they got? They got a 3-star tight end with 5 offers, and Mason Norberg stepping up, and he's their 3rd leading receiver too. So Folsom's dealing with the injury bug. Smith could not play last week either because of an ejection from that previous game in the Sac Joaquin section semifinal. So he was out for the championship. All indications point to he will be back for this game against De La Salle, which is huge. No Lions, no Flores, but Folsom top to bottom, especially under their head coach. They've still got a lot of weapons that they can go to at their disposal, especially against, De La Salle defense that's still got a lot of guys, though, too. So it's an intriguing matchup to watch, that Folsom offense against that De La Salle defense.
Yeah, and we'll have to see how much the Folsom defense is really going to be on the field because, like I said, they can wear you down with that run heavy. You have Dylan Greason, you have Charles Greer, the Fresno State commit. Great line with Derek Thompson and Cooper Powers spearheading that tough front 6 that can really just get in your face, and then they'll just drive it down the field and score.
Yeah, they've got those guys, and you've also seen their deal with that quarterback at De La Salle. Toa Fave's really stepped up. He keeps making better and better throws as this year goes on. He's got one of the best players in America, Cooper Flanagan, to throw to. He leads the team in receiving, but you got Journey McCoy. Out of commit, you've got Jonathan Guerrero. So De La Salle's got some explosive pieces there. The run game's good, but the way Toa Fave's really coming along, this sophomore quarterback too, and some of these experienced guys he's got thrown to helps out a lot, especially with an offensive line too. Derek Thompson's been hurt for much of this year. Cooper Powers, though, still out there. So De La Salle's got probably, you think, what they always have, an advantage in the trenches going and heading up to Folsom again.
Yeah, and almost all but one of their NorCal losses in the last 16 months has been within single digits. The largest one was 10 points to St. Mary's of Stockton. It was going to be 17 points, but they scored a last-minute touchdown, so to pull the deficit closer. So they're going to battle no matter what. It doesn't matter if they lose or win. It's going to be a close one.
Yes, it will. You have a score prediction for this one, how this one shakes out, and who's going down to LA next weekend?
I'm going to say De La Salle 28, Folsom 24.
I like that. I'm picking De La Salle to win this one too. Folsom's got a lot of pieces, but still injury bug going against the De La Salle team that's played them close. I think this time De La Salle has just enough of an advantage, but it's going to be close. I'm thinking 24-21 De La in this game. Close, tight battle until the ends. De La Salle pulls away late, gets that one up in Folsom. But you look elsewhere in Northern California, Pittsburgh against Manteca at 6 p.m. Saturday. Greg's going to be at this game. The amount of Power 5 talent and Division I talent on this football field is just about the most you'll see. And the amount of 4-stars, it's hard to find this anywhere on a football field in America.
Oh yeah, it's definitely tough. I mean, we know Pittsburgh, the Florida commit in Jaden Rashada, Rasheed Williams, Zachary Card, Keon Higgins, I believe, just announced his commitment to San Jose State. You've got Buda Boyd, who's also a good defensive back, and many other weapons that you can throw to, along with Kai Taylor, the Boise State commit. But on Manteca, they're a run-heavy team. They're averaging over 50 points a game. They're led by linebacker and running back 4-star Blake Nicholson, the Florida State-bound senior, has over 40 touchdowns. He had 6 touchdowns against Granite Bay in their Sac Joaquin Section Division II win. So it's really going to be a contrasting style, but I think Blake Nicholson gets at least 3 touchdowns in this one.
Yeah, Blake Nicholson alone is good enough to get you probably 21 to 28 points, you would think. He leads the team in rushing. He leads the team in receiving. You mentioned also 6 touchdowns last week. Pittsburgh's defense is going to have a tough task, but also here's what Pitt's defense has done recently. They held Clayton Valley to 3 points. They've got some really good players up front. Odero Okaka is a Southern Utah commit that's playing well. Sophomore Juju Walls is a D1 prospect. He was fantastic against Clayton Valley, against an O-line that features a couple of Division I prospects. And you've also got Bradley Ruffin, a junior D tackle that is really stepping up. Their linebacking core keeps getting better and better. Jimani Anea, some players saying after the game, this is a kid that should get offered. He's rangy. Their secondary is good with really long, athletic, physical guy. And Kai Taylor, you mentioned, going to Boise State, also a good receiver. Buda Boyd there, who's got 3 offers. It's interesting. It's an interesting matchup. I'm still picking Pittsburgh. I think Victor Galley's final season, Pittsburgh is going to be heading down to Mission Viejo next week, and I'm playing at Saddleback College for a state championship.
I think they're going to make the return back down to SoCal with a win. It's going to be tough, though. Manteca is a run-heavy team. They can, operate in different offenses, sometimes the split veer, sometimes the eye, but they will pound the ball a lot, and that's what they've done. And they can occasionally throw the ball. Nicholson has, I believe, 12 touchdowns on the receiving end, but he's extremely dangerous in the run.
Yeah, here's a look at Nicholson's stats. Let's go into that before we go into the Division II games. As Nicholson's got over 1,500 rushing yards, 26 touchdowns. Then he's, like I mentioned, leading the team in receiving, 703 yards, 14 touchdowns. You got Bryson Davis, who's got over 1,000 yards as well. He's also averaging 9.4 yards per carry. Definitely a run-heavy team. It's going to be fun to watch to see what they do against a Pitt team that's got a good running back in Elijah Bowe, but so many intriguing weapons and probably next-level starters, maybe even first year or two at the next level. But the next one, we've talked about Victor Galley's impact, right? We did that, I believe, our last podcast or the one before that. This one, some news came out. Joseph Dykes of the Mercury News reported that McClymonds head coach Michael Peters is not sure if he will be back in 2023. So this could be his last postseason run at McClymonds. We're not sure yet. He has some decisions to make after the season on what he wants to do. What's his legacy been at McClymonds?
it's been remarkable. You know, he has over 100 wins. He has 13. I mean, there's 13 consecutive OAL titles at McClymonds. Many state title runs. He's had quite the legacy there at McClymonds. He's cemented himself onto the Mount Rushmore of Bay Area football coaches with all that he's done. I put up Victor Galley there, of course, Bob Laddister and Patrick Walsh. It's remarkable what he's done for that program, how they could take a small school with enrollment size of less than 400 and turn them into honestly a NorCal powerhouse with the way they've competed against some of NorCal's top teams. They took down San Ramon Valley, a NCS champion took down Bellarmine, a Division II champion CCS, and they played really, really tough against Pittsburgh. So it's been a remarkable run for Coach Peters if he decides to retire at the end of the season because of some family issues. But he's quite the legend. I think his career says it all.
And Peters' family's been through a lot. Last year, it was during that siren. He almost did not coach in the state championship game last year because of his mother was dealing with health problems. Past all of that, he told Joseph Degas he hasn't really had time to grieve. He may need some time for himself. Sure, parents who want him to stick around and coach their kids, but at the same time, he still does need to look out for himself, look out for his family, and be there for his family. Right? That's a tough thing to deal with. I don't care who you are, age. That's always a tough thing to deal with, especially when there's that constant grind of coaching where even in the off season, it still never ends. Right? You've got spring ball, you've got academics, you've got so many different things. But Peters. We'll make a Mount Rushmore coaches. I think we should do that after the season. We'll have something fun with that and make a Mount Rushmore Bay Area football coaches, current and past. But Michael Peters is definitely on there. And his team has a chance to go to a state championship again. The defending state champs host Lemoore. I'll be there at 7:30 p.m. Friday in Oakland. And this just seems like a spot where McClymonds likes to be. And they've got a lot of different pieces on both sides of the football to make another run for maybe back-to-back state championships.
Of course, with all the weapons they got, they have, Ricard Campbell, they have Tajir Golden. Javion Thomas is a great running back. He's had multiple amazing performances. Deontay Faison is a good quarterback. They've got good line play. Malik Richardson's a good defensive lineman. And there are many others. Tony Hamilton's a really good safety. Rimani Albert, so many weapons and athletes for McClymonds. But Lemoore is tough. They got Ty Pele Chambers, a senior. He has 36 touchdowns, just 5 interceptions, over 2,500 passing yards in the year. You've got some great run play, and Lemoore can score. They're a tough team from that region. They're well disciplined. So it's going to be a tough task for Mac, but I think they can pull it out.
Yeah, Lemoore's defense as well. Going off their offense, they are outscoring teams 635 to 223. They have 110 straight. 3 ball carries above 600 yards, 2 receivers above 600 yards. They've got a 1,000-yard receiver in Mel Turner, but this defense is creating a lot of havoc. Something we'll get into soon about El Cerrito, Bellarmine, those types of teams. Lemoore is right up there with the way their defense is playing because Lemoore enters this championship game recovering 16 fumbles and also creating 13 interceptions. Kobe Green, a junior there, has 5 of those interceptions. And he's going to go against a quarterback that really does not make a lot of mistakes in the finals.
Yeah, I mean, and then that run game is really tough too with Javion Thomas. He's extremely fast. He could probably hit over 23 miles an hour, or at least 22 miles an hour on this game due to his quickness. But I like McClymonds' prospects, so I have to go with them.
Yeah, me too. It's hard to pick against McClymonds. There's no reason not to. I think McClymonds gets a big win, wins by probably 10 points past Lemoore and gets its way back to a state championship game. And now in 2A, where Mariah will be at this game on Saturday. San Ramon Valley hosts undefeated Marin Catholic, 2 NCS teams, SRB, the D2 champs, Marin Catholic, the D4 champs, and defending state champions square off at 6 p.m. Saturday in Danville between 2 really well coached, really disciplined, good teams. And SRB's got a really potent offensive defense that's really coming along. Had 3 interceptions last week, but Marin Catholic too. The offense is good, and this defense at Marin Catholic's just about as good as it gets.
It's going to be close, and I know Marin Catholic has a lot of good prospects, a great, well-rounded team, good quarterback, good receivers, good running back, good line, good defense. I do like San Ramon Valley, though. I think I'm going to pick them for the upset. I guess you could call it the upset in this one, and to a certain extent. They've got Luke Baker is a good dual threat quarterback, smart with football, athletic. Caleb Madrid's a good receiver and defensive back. He had a pick six and a receiving touchdown in the game I saw in the NCS championship. And that secondary is pretty solid. You got Jack Horton. You've got many others like Shawnee Williams, who can play really good in the secondary. And they did a really good job of guarding Robbie Mascaroni. And that front seven is also really tough up front for Centerman Valley. So it's going to be interesting to see what they've got.
Yes, it is. Luke Baker actually just got his third star by 247 Sports last week. Congrats to him there. They got a dynamic running game, right? John Powell Mendoza and Nick Rivera, each over 500 yards. Their receiving core, like last year, right? Deep, explosive, a lot of different guys. Trevor Scott's got 12 touchdown catches. And defensively, the Marco Jones got a Colorado offer, just a sophomore outside linebacker. Ever since that McClymonds game back, I'm trying to think, early October, I want to say, about 2 months ago. Ever since then, his game has just skyrocketed. Marin Catholic's defense, keeping teams at 9.7 points per game. Trent Karate's really good. Will Clemens, Daniel O'Leary, so many different guys that just, it's pretty much all 11 hats going to the football. It's, you want to watch how a defense should play. Marin Catholic is that team. That's the way they play. They got a quarterback that's just one at the highest level. He was a state champion at San Marin last year. This year, he's undefeated with Marin Catholic, and their running back, Charles Williams, a Division I prospect, quick, athletic. It's a good matchup, but Marin Catholic hasn't lost yet. I think this is going to be a thrilling game. Heck, I'm saying it goes to overtime, but I'm thinking Marin Catholic wins its defense. The mantra defense wins championships. I'm going with them to make one or two key plays that really, really gets them back into a state championship. And they also will be heading down to LA next weekend. And then Noah, the one you're going to be at, El Cerrito against Grant, 7:30 p.m. Friday at El Cerrito. What a matchup this is.
Yeah. I mean, we talk about El Cerrito's defense all the time, but there's also, many others with that run game. Tony McAdoo has over 2,000 yards. He's had a phenomenal postseason, averaging over 200 yards per game in the postseason, several touchdowns. That defense, Kamani Jackson's got a San Jose State offer. Warren Smith is a Washington State bound defensive back. But Grant, Joseph McCray, over 40 touchdowns and 7 rushing touchdowns. So he's got 49 total touchdowns. He's a threat there. They've got some great running backs, some really good receivers. They have 2 over 800 receiving yards. They're deep, and it's going to be an interesting contrast with that El Cerrito defense and that run game. So I got to go El Cerrito. El Cerrito's by a slight win, by a slight margin.
Yeah, this is a really tough game to pick. I was going back and forth on this one. That matchup on the outside, where you've got these Grant receivers going against that El Cerrito secondary that's got Warren Smith, the Washington State bound corner. You've got Jermaine Hargraves. Hargraves might head there, and then Kamani Jackson got a San Jose State offer. We've got to Cairo Goss Pruitt, over 900 yards. Then Kingston Lopa, big time 2024 prospect, 10 offers. Auburn, LSU, Oregon, USC, and Washington are in that list. This is a tough one, but I am still going to give El Cerrito the edge. I think this is a game decided by a touchdown. I'm going 35-28 El Cerrito with a big time win to advance to a state championship game next week.
And this is probably one of the best teams in school history with all the talent that they've got. That defense, though, is extremely stingy, as Warren Smith put it. It's going to be an interesting contrast. I know they give 27 to Windsor, but Windsor's a tough offense, too. So it's going to be a good game, though.
And this next one's a fun one, too. There's been a lot of talk about this one all week. I believe Greg's Twitter picture is going to be on the walls at Bellarmine this week because he's always picking against Bellarmine. But you know what? I think we all might be on the walls this week because Bellarmine against Vanden. This is another really good matchup, but kind of surprised. We all picked Vanden to win this game at 6 p.m. kickoff Saturday at San Jose City College. I guess first, before we go into Bellarmine, Noah, why did you pick Vanden to win this game as well?
I think it's just because of that toughness of that program. You graduate some great players like Jemai East, who's now doing a really good job down at the College of San Mateo. You have Trey Dimes, who's just a proven winner, no matter when it is. They won the Sac Joaquin Section Division IV title game. They only have 1 loss all season. That was to a very tough Vacaville team. Good receivers, good solid defensive backs, a very good defense. Devin Martin, Orion Null coming off the edge. but that's not to count Bellarmine. They've got a great front seven. Javon Reels should have been offered yesterday. They've got Parker Threet. They've got some good run game with Ben Fath. So it's going to be a tough matchup, but I got to give the edge to Vanden.
Yeah, I love what Bellarmine's got. Ben Foffey's definitely not 100% healthy. He still ran for over 130 yards, had a 70-plus yard run against St. Ignatius, had the game-winning touchdown run as well. Bellarmine's defense is going to create havoc in a lot of ways. I look at these teams as being very similar. The front sevens are really, really stout. But then both secondaries have a lot of really good athletic, smart players. But in some ways, I think they're kind of both overlooked at those spots because they're making plays on the football, tough in coverage, they're fast, they're smart, they're athletic, so many different things that check the boxes. You got two smart quarterbacks. Vanden's got one in Trey Dimes. Bellarmine's got one in Nate Escalada. And then they moved Parker Threet out to receiver. He stepped up well there too. Really athletic kid. But Vanden, I like what they've got. They've got that championship DNA from last year already. I think this is going to be a little bit more of a low-scoring football game than all the other ones we picked. I'm thinking Vanden wins this one 21-17.
Yeah, it's going to be a grinder. It was a grinder last week in Vanden's win over Capital Christian in the Sac Joaquin Division 4 final game. It's going to be a defensive grinder for sure with defensive talent on the field, but I'm going to give Vanden the slight edge.
And then the next one, 6 p.m., also Saturday at that same time, but this one in Novato. San Marin hosts Menlo. Both teams coming off section title. San Marin at second straight NCS D5. They're going to be moving up to D4 next year. And Menlo getting that CCS title over Hollister.
I mean, San Marin's defense was exceptional. They had 5 interceptions against a very good Marymount team that loves to air it out, can definitely score. Great receivers, good quarterback, but Menlo's also tough too. They have a North Carolina commit and their tight end. They have a good quarterback. I mean, he had big shoes to fill after Sergio Beltran graduated, the CCS's record holder for, I believe, passing touchdowns in a season. I like Menlo and their prospects, but I think San Marin is just too much with a good quarterback, good receivers, good defense. They're just well-rounded overall.
Yeah, Wesley Garton last week, 3 interceptions on a UCLA commit, 2 of which were pick sixes. Menlo's got guys. Court Halsey leads this team in tackles as well. That's a freaky thing to know. They've got a really good defensive line. Alec Jabal, Avery Romaine, Ralston Raphael, all league type of guys, maybe even all region type of guys at the end of the season. Jake Bianchi just got his first offer for over 300 yards against Hollister in that 42-6 win. San Marino, I'm going with them again. That championship DNA with this program. Defending state champs at their level. 2 straight NCS titles. You got a 1,000-yard rusher on Charlie Singleton. Sophomore Jonah Lozano stepping up. Dominic and Garcia. It just seems like that family knows how to win, just like his brother Michael Dom is just winning at the highest level. And he's got a really deep receiving core too. Wesley Timmel is just a sophomore. He leads them. Frankie Quincy's a really, really good athletic receiver in the slot. I'm going San Marin wins this one. I know maybe I should learn the last time I picked against Mendo when they played a Burlingame. Sorry, guys. San Marin, I think, comes out. This is an intriguing matchup, though, as well. This is going to be a fun one. I can't wait to see that one on Saturday.
Yeah, it will be for sure. 2 great teams going head-to-head. Not the biggest enrollment size, maybe like 25-plus JV calls for Menlo, but they know how to win football games.
Yeah, they do. They've got a really good coaching staff that's developing players. Other ones doing the same thing. Palo Alto, for the first time since 2010, has won a CCS title. That storied program is back in one of these regional championship games, and they host Santa Teresa at 7:30 p.m. Friday. Greg will be at that game Friday, and that Pitt game on Saturday. Oh, I guess first off, what are you looking for between these 2 CCS championship programs?
Palo Alto started this season, I believe, 1-6, and ever since that moment, they've rattled off 6 consecutive wins. Looking early on, it didn't seem like they were going to do well in the De Anza division, but what they've done has been really impressive. Took down Seaside, took down Monterey. Monterey was a good program that took down Westmont, the top seed, in the semifinals. So they're going to have to go up against a very good Santa Teresa team that's really had some close games. I know they had a gritty win over Branham. They also had some gritty wins over the season. So I'm looking at Santa Teresa for this one.
Yeah, Palo Alto first. Let's get into them. Declan Packer, their quarterback, It was 11 of 14 passing for 171 yards in that CCS championship. He's playing well. He put up just a great championship performance last week. And they've got some versatility in this offense. 2 rushers over 80 yards last week, and Jack Newman, Jeremiah Madrigal. But again, that defense wins championships. Monster Santa Teresa really holds that to a T. Branham came in averaging 38 points per game going into that championship. Santa Teresa held them to 15. His quarterback is also athletic, and Jaden Aravala over 100 passing yards, 100 rushing yards last week. Josh Reyes is a good two-way player. Noah Gardier is one that really intrigues me there at Santa Teresa. Interception and over 100 receiving yards to beat Branham.
I think Santa Teresa is known for playing in the trenches, so they're going to probably have another game in the trenches, but I think they'll pull this one out.
Yeah, I'm going Santa Teresa too. I think this is going to be another one of those kind of grinded out low scoring games like we mentioned with that Bellarmine against Vanden game. So this one will be fun to watch. Greg will have all the coverage from there. Then the last one. This one is actually a state championship at the 7AA level. Pinole Valley, coming off its first NCS title since 1979, travels down into the Central Valley outside Fresno to play at Mendota High School at 7:30 p.m. Friday.
Mendota is a run-heavy team. That's why I know their passing is decent, but they're definitely known to be a more run-heavy team. They're 9-5. They have 6 consecutive wins. They started the season 3-5, but they really just rattle. But they've really come to play. And that's not to say Pinole Valley hasn't come to play. They've come to play every single time this postseason. They took down the top seed in St. Mary's. They took down Justin Stanton in the championship game. Very low-scoring game. Their defense, their front seven, is really done a good job. So it's going to be interesting to see how that defense faces up with that run game at Mendota. I got to give Mendota the edge due to how explosive that run game is, though. So I'm going to give them a slight edge, but I think it's going to be a low-scoring game, maybe 14-10 in favor of Mendota.
That's what Pinole Valley likes too. They're going to hold you in check. They're going to run the football down your throat, get 5-6 yards to carry, then hit some of those big plays. In 3 playoff games, they've held opponents to a combined 19 points. Fortuna to 12. St. Mary's Berkeley did not score until 15 seconds left in that ball game, and St. Mary's is undefeated going into that ball game as well. The top seed in NCS, and what did Pinole Valley do? Went there and won. Then last week defeats Justin Siena 7-0. It's hard for me to pick against Pinole Valley. Alex Shamsuddin's a really good two-way player. Had an interception last week. Larry McDonald had 228 yards last week. I've learned I'm not picking against Pinole Valley anymore. I'm picking Pinole Valley. Goes down to Mendota. Gets a really tough one. And you stole the words and numbers right out of my mouth. I think going opposite, though, I think Pinole Valley wins this football game 14-10.
It's going to be a tough game, but that's Pinole Valley's bread and butter. And that sounds like their style of football to a T, with just holding opponents down, wearing them down, having those big plays. And Larry McDonald, I think he's going to have a big game too.
Yeah, yes, I like what Pinole Valley's got. There's going to be a lot of teams from Northern California going down to state, it looks like, next week, and especially from the Bay Area. Sarah has already clinched that open division berth down to Southern California, undefeated CCS champs again. They will be playing St. John Bosco at 8 p.m. on Saturday, December 10th at Saddleback College in Mission Viejo. So we will get more into that matchup next week. St. John Bosco did beat Mater Dei by 2 points, ending Bruce Rawlinson's tenure at Mater Dei. That should be a fun one. But everybody, that wraps it up for this week's edition of the West Coast Preps podcast. Be sure to check out all the content, westcoastpreps.com, social media at West Coast Preps _ We'll be at every single Bay Area Northern California championship game this weekend. Noah's going to be at El Cerrito Grant. I'll be at McClymonds against Leamore. And then on Saturday, I'll be at San Marin Menlo, and the rest will also be covered as well. We'll announce it on our social media pages. But everybody, take care, stay safe, and enjoy these early parts of December and the holiday season.